Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter and the ship starts sailing. I'd like to welcome back to the show all the way down to Florida. She is getting ready to step on the Disney Dream. What, tomorrow, Christy? No, 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days.
2 days. Oh my gosh.
Assuming our test results come back properly.
Oh, I think it's going to, what is it like? It's the one time a negative is a positive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited today. We've had so many people reaching out with the sailings going on, and the ship that's most near and dear to my heart is over in the UK sailing right now. And I'm excited that we're going to bring to the show today, Claire, all the way over from the United Kingdom to talk about her family sailing on the beautiful Disney Magic. How are you doing today, Claire?
I am really well. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you coming on and doing this. We had John, who has come on and given us a one-trip report of the Magic over there. So we're looking forward to your family's experiences. Well, let's just jump right into it and get your Disney cruising and Disney background. As we were talking ahead before we started the show, this wasn't necessarily your first sailing. Give us your background, Claire.
So, yes, as a family, when I was little, we tended to go across to Walt Disney World quite a lot. So I'd always been, as a teenager, I think probably 5 or 6 times. And then when I met my husband, Sean, he was definitely not a fan. He wasn't fancying the trip at all. And then we had our daughter, Madison.
And you still married him?
Yes, well, I took it as a challenge. I took it as a challenge to be able to convert him into the magical ways. So yeah, we had Mads, and we took her across for the first time when she was 4. And then since then, pretty much every holiday is a Disney themed trip, to be fair. So we've done Walt Disney World probably 4 times as a group. We've done Disneyland in California. We've done Paris once, and then this was our 4th Disney cruise as well.
That is an amazing Disney history, especially coming from Europe.
Yes, yeah. So that was one of the weird things with doing the staycation, is that I was saying to Steve before, I always associate Disney with a trip. It always is a plane, or it's a long period of time, and it's usually we plan quite far in advance. It's usually at least a year out when we book everything. So when the sailings were announced, and it was April, and we were talking about going in July, and it was 3 hours away from where we live, we were like, oh my God, this is so weird. Let's do it.
So kind of give us a background. I have to throw this out there. Guess where she's cruised as well, Christy? Not just the Caribbean, but.
Well, I would assume in Europe.
No.
So our first experience was a Dream, 4-night Dream, a Bahamas itinerary. And then the last 2 were 2 7-night, not together, 2015 Alaska, and then 2019 Alaska on the Wonder.
I was just like, when she was starting to explain it, I was like, oh, the North. Yeah. So I'm like, where else is Disney cruise? Those are like amazing trips.
They were amazing, honestly. We absolutely loved those trips. We fell in love with the Wonder. She's our favorite ship, honestly. Amazing.
I do love the Wonder. I mean, I do love the Wonder. I could definitely spend some more time there. How old is your daughter now?
She's 13, so she turned 13 in April. She's still into it, though. She's still not lost that Disney interest yet, which is great.
Yay.
So give us a sense about the United Kingdom. When Disney announced that the Magic was going to be doing these like Magic at Sea staycations over there, what was the reaction over there?
I think everyone really hooked into it. I think it took a lot of, opportunities for first-time cruisers that maybe wouldn't have thought about it, because generally, well, like you say, Disney, you associate with Port Canaveral or the state, embarking from over there. And the Disney Magic, when she does do the European itineraries, does tend to be quite expensive. So I would always sort of discard the Disney Magic itineraries for us for the European options, because you can get so much more from traveling across to the States or Vancouver and doing Alaska. So it opened up a whole lot of opportunities, and everyone was really interested. You could see the buzz of everyone looking at the dates and thinking about what was going to work for them on the Facebook groups and on social media. So yeah. I think it was really popular then, and it's really popular now. And they will, if they put it out there in the future, absolutely. I could see people taking that as an option for years to come because it's so convenient.
It does make me wonder if they'll do something like that in the future. I know normally the Magic's itineraries are pretty booked. They do run that around England, usually in September sometime, where they'll do one tour where it hits England, a bunch of different ports in England and Ireland. But I could see them maybe not as long as and offering as many sailings, but I could see them, maybe doing a week of these sailings. What do you think, Christy?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, they got people to book them. There is a market for it. Even if I was coming and they allowed it not to just be a UK sailing, but if I was coming from the States and could do the first couple of days of a staycation and then go to the European ports, I mean, to me, that would be a dream because get acclimated, get under the time zone, enjoy the ship, figure everything out, and then, or do it the other way where you run across all the countries, right? And run from port to port and then end the cruise a couple days of hanging out on the ship. Both of those sound amazing.
Oh, definitely. So this time they sailed out of Liverpool, Southampton, Newcastle, and London, Tilbury. We actually sailed on her when she sailed out of Dover. When we went up to Norway and just loved that cruise. We loved our time in London and then sailing out of Dover. Which port did you guys pick and why did you pick that port?
So we picked Liverpool. It was going to be a toss-up between Liverpool and Newcastle, depending on the dates when they got released. So we'd actually got a trip to Disneyland Paris planned for the week that we chose. That was looking ever more slim, a chance that would happen without having to quarantine and all the different restrictions. So as soon as the 4-night option popped up for that same weekend that we were off, it was a really easy choice. So we cancelled the Paris trip and went ahead and booked onto the 4-night from Liverpool. It is only a 3-hour car journey from where we live. It was really convenient. There was lots of parking options that we could source really easily. And we stayed over in Liverpool the night before just to sort of extend it even more so, which was really nice. Never seen the city before, so it was really good.
What did you guys do? Or could you give people that may be traveling to Liverpool, can you give them kind of ideas of some things to do? I know the Beatles came from there. They've got an amazing football team. What else can people expect from Liverpool staying there?
It's a really nice city, to be fair. It's not that far away from Manchester, and it's got the same sort of vibe that Manchester has. It's got lots and lots of different arts and music museums. There's so much history along pretty much where the port is. If you just come a little further up from there, there's like a waterfront area that they're developing quite a lot at the moment. But there's so much stuff that you could just dabble in and out of. Have a wander around the whole afternoon. The Cavern Club is not far away. They're just a few streets up for any Beatles fans. So there's plenty to do if you can cope with the redevelopment.
Yeah, John did say that was kind of a problem getting to the ship as far as once they get their car parked and everything else. And maybe you guys had the same problem too.
Yeah, no, we were lucky to park a little bit further away from the port and walk down to the hotel. But for embarkation, it did take a little bit of a while and it was really hot. We were really blessed with the weather, to be fair. For half an hour, 45 minutes on a bus in a mask, it wasn't the best.
So I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but because as we've seen, just even with the sailings out of here, things change day to day as far as maybe some of the COVID restrictions and just how Disney is handling them. What did you guys have to do ahead of time as far as COVID restrictions in the UK before you could get on board the Magic?
Anybody who was 18 and above had to be fully vaccinated. So you had to make sure that your last jab was at least 2 weeks prior to the sailing. I'm a key worker, so I was good to go. And Sean's was about 2 months prior. So we were all good. Both girls, because they are under 18. And in the UK, the kids aren't eligible for any vaccination programs at all yet. So they had to have a negative PCR test 5 days before they sailed. And then on the same day of embarkation, we all had to have a rapid lateral flow test done at the port, and we all had to test negative before we would be allowed to board.
And did Disney pay for that test at the port, or did you have to pay? Was that part of your cruise fare?
So the one at the port is all included with the cruise fare. The girls' ones you had to sort privately and pay for yourself.
And how was embarking in Liverpool?
To be honest, it was really quite smooth. We had a port arrival time of, I think, 1:30. And as John had said before, I think a few weeks ago on his, discussion with you guys, the port is really, really small, the actual port of Liverpool. So all of the testing and all of the checking was done at an arena, which is just probably about 10-15 minutes walk away from the actual port itself. I'm trying to think of like, when you walk into Epcot and World Showcase, there's like a, right at the very front of you, if you're walking from the Globe, there's a tiny little gift shop. It usually has like food and wine stuff in there. That is the size of the port at Liverpool. It is like a tent. You can literally walk straight through it. So they would never have been able to get the testing procedures done there. But all in all, once we were checked in, tested, bussed, it probably took a couple of hours, which was what we were expecting given what we'd been told prior.
But then you boarded. So what was your first impression? How was that experience?
Oh, it was just so good just to see the funnels, just to hear all the noise, just all the different smells, how everything just brings things back to you. Yeah, they let you on in little groups, and we went through, I think, maybe deck 2, and ended up, the first place we headed to was Fathoms. We were all seated, and they were showing us how to get onto the Navigator app and connect to the Wi-Fi in small groups to make sure that we all had access to that. And then once we'd done that, we were walked through to the atrium, where we had like a mini sort of welcome event with Mickey and Minnie on the staircase. Again, you all put on little separate spots, very similar to what I've seen for the videos for the Dream and everything from Port Canaveral. Once you'd done that, you literally did the very quick muster drill, which is amazing. It's the best kind of muster ever. And then you were free just to explore. But it was so good. Just being back on board was fantastic.
And the music, I cannot wait to hear the Disney music coming out of the speakers. I think that's the one thing that, because cruise lines, Disney's fantastic, right? We all love it, but all cruises are really fantastic. The crew are all amazing. And right now, especially, everybody's so excited to be there. But the one thing that you really, really can only get on the Disney ships is that music piping through, and in the hallway when you pop out of your room and you get to just start singing while you're walking down the hallway. I'm probably the only one that does that, but it's just, that's the Disney magic that, that's the thing that is so unique, I think, to me, to Disney Cruise Line.
We sing down the hallways. You're not the only one. We do that. We've got the ears. We do it all the way.
So a lot of people have been we've gotten a lot of good feedback about the little show that they do in the atrium there rather than doing the sail away party. Was that kind of your takeaway too?
It was really nice that they offered something. I love the sail away party. It really sets the mood. It sets the tone, especially with the kids. So that was one of the things that I knew I was going to miss. So it was really nice that they put something, not in place of it, but it did feel like you were being welcomed back on board. It got the same music. They were all dancing, and all the crew were on the balconies, sort of looking down as well. So they're all behind you dancing. So it did feel really nice. It was a good way to sort of welcome you if they weren't going to be able to do the party on the top deck.
So then were you able after that to go to your cabin to drop off your items?
Yeah, literally. I think we were on board for about 3:20, and we were in Animator's pallet from Muster Station. We walked down there, scanned the code, and by 3:30, we were upstairs in the cabin, ready to drop bags. So it was really, really quick and early. We weren't supposed to get into the cabin till about 4. So I think they were made available from around 3:00.
And what kind of cabin did you guys choose?
So we chose a 6A, a balcony cabin, one of the extended veranda cabins. Oh. I've never done that before. Purely with the white wall, I wasn't sure how we were going to feel about that. But with the policy with masks and wearing a mask when you're indoors all the time, I'm used to doing that with work, but I knew that might be a bit of a bind for my other half. So I thought, well, if we can get a bit of a bigger balcony, then if it is an issue, we can just chill out there. But the room was really nice.
And that was one of the aft balconies then?
It was, yes. So I think it was 6650 was the cabin, and it was perfect. Great location.
So it was you, your husband, Madison, and then she brought a friend with. So how did that work out for the 4 of you? Was there enough room in the room? I keep saying the same word over again.
No, it was really comfortable. So they got the bunk set up. It wasn't a family size room. So I did think it might be a little bit tight, but no, it worked perfectly. The girls shared the bunk beds. They got enough space to get set up over in that side of the cabin. And we got plenty of room with the main bed, as always. I thought that having the extended room outside actually was quite good too, because the girls could spread out if they were bored of listening to us, and they loved ordering room service for their lunch, and they would sit out on the balcony. It was like a novelty to them that they could ring and order what they wanted. So they did that most days for the lunch and sat outside, which was nice.
Well, it's a novelty for me too. I don't know about you, Steve, but we travel in hotels, and when you order that room service and you pay $30 to get like 2 eggs and a cup of coffee, it's such a dream to be able to order anything and it not cost $17,000 to get it.
Absolutely.
Not to mention your Mickey bar that could come with it for dessert, right, Christy?
I know, for no additional charge. Did the girls order Mickey bars ever?
I saw the wrapper. At least once.
So, we don't get a lot of guests that have teenagers on. We just really don't. We have Steve's kids, which is not a bad thing, Steve, but that's like the only report of teenagers I feel like we get. How did they enjoy the process? Did they go to the kids club at all, the teens club at all? So
they did go to Edge. I don't know if they enjoyed it as much as just doing their own thing. Of all of the clubs, she's not able to be in Vibe yet. That'll be next time, but probably doesn't offer as much of a scope, like with Oceaneers and having such a program of events. It is very much come and go as you please. So with that lack of structure, I think they found it okay, and they dabble in and out of it, but they were absolutely loving exploring the ship, looking for the characters, and they joined us for trivia. They joined us for, like with the animation classes and stuff. And I think they just enjoyed being able just to go out and do their own thing, especially with the pool and the aquadunk and everything. So they probably didn't utilize the clubs as much as Madison has done previously when she was sort of lab and club age for the Oceaneers. That's up to 12, isn't it?
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Having a buddy on board like that to be able to just go and explore and have fun. Did they have to book times? Now I know with the lab and the club, I think they have to book times at this time to get up to Edge. What was that process like?
So yes, that was slightly different. So with the lab and the club, you had to book the slots, but for Edge and Vibe, as long as the rooms weren't at capacity, then you could just come and go as you please. There was no booking required at all.
And then did they have like specifics in the past? I know that the counselors have tried to run different things, like whether it's a scavenger hunt or I know one time they did a zombie movie on one of the sailings we were on. Did they have some stuff like that for the kids?
They did a little bit, but not so much as in previous times. So there was definitely a scavenger hunt, I think, on Marvel Morning, but there was a lot of sort of downtime. There was just a couple of things. I think that's probably what put them off a little bit, because it wasn't as structured as before. There definitely wasn't as many teenage children on board either. It was really family based. There were lots of younger kids and maybe only a handful of the sort of older kids that were on our sailing anyway.
Did they end up making any friends with any of the other kids?
I think they made a couple of friends, but they were just having a great time together.
Especially with the shorter cruise, I guess, with having a buddy on board, it probably didn't really need to do that. Like when our kids have sailed by themselves and gone to the clubs, that's kind of on the longer sailings. It seems like that's when they've been able to hook up. And then you got social distancing and everything else kind of going on right now. It's kind of a wonky time, isn't it?
Absolutely, because when you're inside, obviously they still have to wear the masks, and so you don't have that. It's just not the same, I don't think, of just being able to sit down with someone and play a game or play with a foosball. And I think some of the arcade games, they weren't on because of all the sanitization process. So it was very different given past cruises that we'd experienced.
Let's stick with the activities since we've been talking a little bit about that. What are some of the other activities that you guys did as a family and or just you and your husband participated in?
So it was jam-packed. Every single day they put on a whole host of stuff that you could do. There was loads and loads of quizzes and trivia every single day. It was like Disney cruise, Disney theme parks, Disney tunes, normal tunes, anything that you wanted to do trivia on, you could do trivia. Animation classes. So they did Marvel specific animation on Marvel Morning. And then they did the classic animation, you know, your Mickeys, your Plutos, that was all there. The girls did quite a lot of that with us, but we did quite a lot of the tastings that were on offer as well. So we did the Stem to Stern wine tasting, we did a mixology, Sean did a beer tasting by himself, and then we did the chocolate liqueur one as well. So we did sign up for quite a lot of the beverage seminars.
How did the mixology work in the past? You know, they've kind of made it more interactive where you go up and help make the drinks and stuff. How did they do it this time?
So yeah, it was quite different. All of the drinks were pre-made when you walked in, just purely because you couldn't handle anything. And so out of all of them, that probably was my least favorite. It was still great value for money, but it was completely different to the ones that we'd done in the past on the Wonder. But they did the best that they could. So yeah, it was still all just lined up, ready for you as you walked in. And that was one of the first tastings that we did on the sailing. And you were sort of separated to just sit in your sailing group. But then by the end of the sailing, when we did the chocolate liqueur one on the last day, we were actually seated with other guests. So you could tell that things were changing constantly with the social distancing and how they were changing the protocols.
And which one was your favorite? And I'm asking for a specific reason because we booked the mixology in November and I'm thinking that maybe I should change it. What was your favorite one? Because maybe we'll change it tonight.
I really enjoyed the chocolate liqueur one. Lots of great information. And with the pairings, they do different pairings with cheese and different chocolates. So that was just fascinating. And the wine one was really good. The Stem to Stern wine was fantastic.
In the past, Steve, we've done mixology as well, but we've done the champagne tastings and we really enjoyed that one. And Dave doesn't, he hardly drinks. Really, I would go with he doesn't drink. But even with some of the champagne, he would drink some of it. I think ultimately I still probably finished every single glass of his, but he at least drank some of them. More of them than he would have in any other kind of tasting. Wait, one of the things you mentioned twice now is Marvel Morning. Please elaborate what Marvel Morning is.
So yes, on our first full day, so our second day, it was Marvel Morning. There was Marvel quizzes, Marvel characters. So you had Thor wandering around. You'd got Spider-Man. I think Black Panther was knocking about as well with Black Widow. And they were just wandering around the ship doing appearances so that you could take socially distanced photos with them. And then around lunchtime, it then switched. So okay. We got Mickey.
Marvel was over.
Well, no, it was still sort of Marvel themed, but it was like your classic Fab Five dressed up in their sort of favorite Marvel outfits. It was amazing. They just wander around and you could get photos with them as well. So I think Donald was the Hulk. We got Chip and Dale as Loki and Thor. I think Pluto might have had a Captain America like cape thing on. But yeah, it was really good. And then you got like the Marvel music in the background as well.
Did they even do that at Marvel Day at Sea where they put the I don't always listen fully to that part of the trip reports for Marvel Day at Sea, to be honest. I should probably listen more, but do you recall, Steve? I think that's really unique.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about it. Usually they talk about the specific characters themselves, like Black Panther, Captain America, and stuff like that, but not necessarily, Mickey and Minnie being in their characters. So I think that's kind of cool. It may be unique. If somebody else knows, please let us know.
Please let us know. Okay, that's really neat. And what unique opportunity to have something special for this 4 days at sea.
It was really nice as well because they weren't just statically placed. So they were at points, they'd be in the atrium and they'd be on the balcony, but then you could just be getting ice cream and then like Loki, Chip and Dale, they walk past you and you sort of do a double take off. Oh, they're there. And then they just walk around so much more than usual cruises, which was really good to see.
How full do you think your sailing was?
I don't know for certain. You've been given a figure of around 1,400 people. It was quiet. It felt quiet. The only time it was busy was the pool. And I think that was because the weather was so great. And we were really blessed with the weather and it was warm and people were taking advantage of that. But even then it wasn't crazy. Like with previous cruises, it did feel quiet. The ship was empty at times. It was good. But then of an evening time, when you're used to having that buzz, it did feel like, wow, there's just us.
Let's kind of continue the day then. How was the pool deck as far as going up there? Initially, there was talk about having to reserve a space and everything like that. And I think that kind of went away. And I know that you're going to tell me also that the Aqua Dunk is your favorite ride on all of the ships, right?
I chickened out. I didn't do it. The girls did it loads, and I cheered them on and clapped them and was there being supportive. But yeah, no, I did chicken out. Yeah, before we boarded, and the weeks prior to, we were told that you would need to join a virtual queue to be able to access the pool deck. It would be around 15 minutes time. Then you would have to leave and then join the queue again. But the sailing prior to ours, for the last day, they'd eradicated that. And it was just a case of you can turn up, and it was more of like a physical queue where you would have to line up, they blow the whistle, the lifeguard. And once you'd had your time in the pool, you get back out and then queue back again. But they managed that really well. The adult pool was you didn't need to do anything like that. You just got in. It was so little people around that area that wasn't required at all. It was really nice.
Are you guys Funnel Vision fans? Do you watch the movies at all?
Yeah, so we had a Tangled moment, and we catch the end of Moana. We always seem to see the end of Moana from about halfway through. Wherever we are on the Disney cruise, it's always Moana from about halfway through. And then the girls watched Cars one night after dinner. One of like a teen movie. I don't know what it was, but yeah, they got snuggled up on the top deck after dinner and stayed up there to watch a movie. It was playing just like normal.
There's nothing better than snuggling up with some warm hot chocolate in the evening watching Funnel Vision, right, Christy?
I'm pretty sure I've never done that, but I'm sure that sounds lovely for people who are doing that sort of thing.
Christy's usually fast asleep by the time that's happening.
By the time the hot chocolate and snuggly blankets come out on the pool deck, I'm already in my PJs.
So before we go into like the evening activities, maybe talking about dinner, the shows, and some of the other maybe adult activities as well that maybe you guys did, were there any other themed days, or were there any other themed parties during this? And one of the ones I'm thinking was, did they have a formal night by any chance, and did they have pirate night?
No, they had a Frozen deck party that happened on days 1 and 3 of our cruise on alternate times to the magician show that was on. But there was no set days, formal, semi-formal. There was no pirate night, nothing like that. The Frozen show was identical to the one that's on the Wonder. So they probably could have themed that and done like a Frozen theme if they would have wanted to. But no, other than the Marvel thing, everything else was just normal.
Well, should we get dressed up and go to dinner, Christy, or where do you want to go next?
Yeah, no, I think dinner sounds perfect.
Okay, so 3 amazing restaurants on the Disney Magic, and I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you your favorite one. But before we do that, what was your dinner experience like? What was the dining like?
Fantastic. Probably the best that we've had, to be fair. So we had the animators, Rapunzel's, Lumiere's animators rotation, and every single night was amazing. We had fantastic food. The serving team were fantastic. It was our assistant server, it was his first contract with Disney Cruise Line, and he blossomed, as we went on with the sailing. He was fun. They were both really, really great. But yeah, I can't fault it. Some of the best food that we've had.
How do the girls do with the food? Are they pretty adventurous eaters, or how does your family do?
No, they are pretty good. We might have had to bribe them to try the escargot in Lumiere's, but they did try it, so that was okay.
What did they get out of it?
Well,
what was the bribe?
Some extra spending money, maybe for the shop.
I don't think I could have given into that. I think, Steve, I don't think you buying me a drink or something at some point is going to get me to try it.
I'm just asking you when we go on the Wish to order an extra serving for me. That's all I'm asking for, Christy. I'll eat it for you.
You can order 2 servings, Steve.
I know. I just don't want to. I don't want to sound like. I don't want to look like I'm a pig over there. So.
Our server, though, every night he would say, he would give the recommendations as normal, and he'd take the order of what we wanted. But he would always say, "I'm going to bring this for the family, and I'm going to bring this for the family," and we'd always end up with an extra 1 or 2 plates of anything just to pop out. Like, just try it and see what you think. They were both amazing. Fantastic service.
Before I put you on the spot and ask you your favorite one, how about Cabanas? Was anything different about that? I know the serving is a little bit different the way they do it, but any thoughts on Cabanas?
So Cabanas in the morning was very, very similar, just not as much choice as we've been used to on previous sailings, but they'd sort of spaced everything out so that you got 5 different stations that you could go to, purely for social distancing to make sure everyone could get served really quickly. The food that was there was classic Cabanas breakfast items, no issues there. Didn't use it at all for lunch. We just use the pool area. We don't eat lunch, like big lunches, as a family anyway. So the girls were more than happy to go down to the room, get on the room service, do the novelty room service call, and we just get something by the pool, the shawarma. I mean, once you've done that, then I need to get that again the next day and the next day. Grab a sandwich at Daisy's. We never really used it at all for lunchtime. And then we stayed in the restaurants for dinner.
And so you didn't do palo for dinner?
No.
Okay. Did you brunch or just no palo at all?
No, we didn't do any palo at all. With the tastings that we got booked in and then just wanting to spend some time with the girls, we didn't think we'd have enough time to cram it all into the 4 days. So we didn't do it this time.
How did it feel having just 4 sea days in a row?
It was nice. I did miss the ports. I mean, it was fantastic. It was better than nice. It was fantastic because we were back on the ship and I was just soaking up as much of the Disney magic as possible. But you do miss the ports. You do miss getting off and you're going to explore somewhere. And I think Sean would say the same, my other half. That was probably one of the biggest things that he would miss just by doing the staycation. And maybe in the future, if they were looking to do something like that, once the COVID rules have settled down, maybe they would be able to introduce a port somewhere. You know, we sailed really close to Ireland. We were really close to Scotland. So it would have been quite easy to be able to do that. You do miss getting off and having a little bit of an explore and having some time away just to do your own thing. Other than that, it was perfect. Just sailing around. The water was the calmest, the sea was the calmest I've ever been in, which was weird because we were expecting the Irish Sea to be like crazy, but it was so calm and still it was great.
And, we got a little distracted because I do that, but did we ever get the answer of what your favorite restaurant was?
It was Animators, hands down. It was a close call for myself, really, between Animators and Lumiere's, but both nights at Animators were fantastic. So the first day we had, I think, Let the Magic Begin menu? So it was slightly different. That was amazing. My other half said this is the best meal I've had on a cruise ship ever. All parts of it he really enjoyed. And then obviously the last night we had the animation show in there. Both nights were great.
I love that show. I cannot wait to get back on the Magic and see that show again, or the Wonder. That Animators is one of our favorites as well.
Yeah, same. I like that it entertains my kid too, but without it being an interruption to dinner. So that's what I think the best part about Animators is to me.
I think with Rapunzel's, had the show been slightly more how it should be, with them coming out into the room a little more, and we were seated quite far back from where the stage was, we probably would have took more from that. But it was just, I think the quality of the food on the other nights probably pushed that one down a little bit, but the ambience of that was amazing. I love Tiana's on the Wonder and seeing all the lanterns and seeing all the detail. But the setting is fantastic in Rapunzel's. But I think the menus and the quality of the food just pushed the others higher above, in my opinion.
So when dinner ends, my wife and I usually like to take a stroll around deck 4. Maybe we'll go up to Cove and have a glass of wine or something like that before we maybe go see what's going on in the adult entertainment areas or districts and stuff like that. What do you guys like to do? Do you have some favorite spots around the ship that you and your husband like to hang out at?
Yeah, so the girls would ditch us off quite quickly after they'd finished their evening meal. We headed pretty much straight to the adult area. So we spent some time in Fathoms, and the entertainment staff, honestly, they did an amazing job. I'm so used to that venue being packed, someone at every single table and lots of interaction. And the first couple of nights, there maybe was 6 or 7 tables of people when they were trying to entertain you. And they did the best that they absolutely could. It did pick up as the rest of the cruise went on. But I think purely because there were so many people sailing with younger families, they were obviously preoccupied looking after the kids. And so they probably didn't realize that there were things happening in there either until the cruise went on. But yeah, we spent most of our evening time either in Keys or in Fathoms doing some form of entertainment in there.
I love the live piano bar there in Keys and listening to the music there. Did they have any different game shows or different entertainment shows? Did they add anything new?
So they did Match Your Mate, which was very similar to what we'd seen before. They did an 80s flashback and something called Intuition, which I'd never seen before, where it was about how much we could find about them and what we knew about them. They obviously didn't have any other outside entertainment in there. You know, usually you would have someone doing comedy or ventriloquism, but there was just literally the cruise staff that were in there doing the entertainment.
And some of them are they're just amazing entertainers themselves. So.
They were brilliant, honestly. Both of them were absolutely fantastic. Sean and David, amazing.
Did you guys take a chance to go to the shows at all? Did they have Tangled and Disney Dreams? Is that what they showed on board?
So we had Disney Dreams, and it was The Magician that was scheduled. So Tangled has just been recently added now. The cruises have moved forward. So we didn't see The Magician purely because it was day one and we were just exploring, getting back into the rhythm of things and trying to have a nosy around the ship. But we did go see Disney Dreams. I love that show. So we went and watched that. Prior to boarding, when you check in at that 30-day window, you had to book all of this stuff. So you had to book your slot. You had to book the slot for the show, book everything extra that you needed to do. But as we boarded, they sort of said, do you know what, guys? You don't need to do that. Don't worry if you've made a reservation or not. Just turn up to the show times as you choose to. And I think that's what they're doing moving forward now. It was fine. The theatre was hardly, I would say, 30% full. There was plenty of room spread out. It was absolutely fine. You didn't need to book to get in.
Kind of thinking back on this cruise, Claire, was there anything else that we haven't touched on that you wanted to talk about as far as your experience with either with dining, onboard entertainment, or just your experiences in general?
I think that given the circumstances in which they were operating in, Disney did an absolutely fantastic job to be able to get them put into place, to be able to get them out there, to be able to drive that interest from the public. I wouldn't hesitate. If I could get the extra time off work in the upcoming weeks while they still have sailings available from Tilbury, I would be booking straight back on because they did an absolutely fantastic job. So everything was clean, everything was safe. The amount of people on board was perfect. You could probably get more people on and it still felt really quiet to us. It was fantastic. I'm so pleased that we did it, and I've recommended it to everybody that I know. I've converted 2 people and they've booked on for Tilbury sailing. So fantastic experience.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
Was there anything in disembarkation as far as stood out to you? Anything that changed as far as how the process of getting off, or was it kind of similar to what you've had before?
Really similar. The only thing that was different is that our breakfast was so late, which was fantastic. So because we were second dining, I think our breakfast to get off wasn't till 9:20. So we got up, we had leisurely get everything ready. We kept our luggage with us, and you literally just walked down, popped your luggage outside the restaurant, had your breakfast, and then it was go, say thank you, say bye to everybody and walk straight off. So it was really simple, really easy process.
Oh my gosh, 9:20, you're halfway to the airport by now in the US, right, Christy?
And
Yeah, 9:20, they make you feel like you're literally a stowaway and that you've done something wrong if you haven't left the ship already.
I had to double check on the card. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
20 on the app, going up and down. But no, it was right.
Well, what a leisurely way to get off too. Did you guys go to your restaurant or did you go up to Cabanas? What did you guys do?
Oh no, we went to the restaurant. We got
at 9:20.
Yeah,
go to the restaurant.
We got some gifts for the servers that we wanted to give to them, and you want to say bye and thanks and sit down with them properly. So we went down and saw them. They are on that ship the whole time, they can't get off at all. And Igor, our server, he'd said to us one night, I'd really wanted to visit Manchester. That's one of the places that I'd really want to go. And you could literally see it. When you were in Liverpool, it was so close for him, bless him. So, we wanted to give them some gifts before we got off. So they got something, a little bit of treat to enjoy.
One other thing that we haven't asked, did they have any special merchandise for these sailings over there?
No, it's very much traditional Disney Cruise Line merch. Not an awful lot of it, to be fair, and it seems to be getting quite low on stocks from what I've read from social media posts of recent days. Nothing that's like staycation specific at all. There's quite a lot of Walt Disney World merch as well. We saw quite a lot of Walt Disney World stuff, and even the cups. You know, the cups upstairs on the
pool deck.
Yeah.
Yes.
All of that would be Walt Disney World cups. So that was weird, but
they probably had trigger finger firm to order something and just say, I don't know if I want to do this or whatever. Like the fear of, I don't think I used the right analogy, but you understand what I'm saying. The fear of ordering merchandise again and having these cruises not happen, because there's all this, merch from last year that just didn't get to go anywhere. And I think even at the point in which they would have ordered it for this year, they probably didn't know some of these sailings were going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think they have had a couple of restocking. I've seen a few lines that have been restocked. They're really popular, like the Donald Lounge flies and the Animators knives and stuff. But yeah, nothing specifically that was made for the staycations.
Well, Claire, I'm glad you guys had such a wonderful vacation on the Disney Magic. I hope this is something that they will continue for you guys in the UK going on into the future. I think John said it too, that he thought that this is something that would be very popular with people over there. So for you guys' sake, I hope that they can find maybe a week or two while she's over there in the summer to add these on.
They would definitely have the interest. Absolutely. It would make sense for them to do that, because then they're just going to have more people that'll be thinking, and we've returned and we had a specific Facebook group, and the amount of people on there that have booked for the Wish or booked for, other sailings across in the States in the next year. They've got a whole new market now. So it'd be really good for them.
Did you guys book a follow-on cruise, whether it was an actual cruise itself or do the onboard credit?
No, we didn't this time, purely because we've got Hawaii booked for next June, and then we've actually got a Walt Disney World trips planned for 2023, so we wouldn't utilize it. We are booked up.
I love it. Always have another vacation planned, right?
You've got to. It's the way forward.
Well, before we get out of here, and you already hit on it, so this is not going to come as a surprise, but there is a new ship coming to the Disney Cruise Line fleet, the Disney Wish. And I was wondering, I want to give you the opportunity to kind of express your feeling. What do you think about her? What do you think about the lobby, Cinderella, and some of the things that they've announced?
It looks absolutely fantastic. The Star Wars stuff, take that lounge. Honestly, we could spend a whole day there. It's just all of the different rooms look so immersive. The slide for the kids club. I hope they let the grown-ups try that on open house.
They better close it off in the evening, though, is what I'm thinking. After people might have had a couple drinks or two, it might be a little dangerous for the grown-ups going down it.
It might be a bit iffy, but she looks beautiful. She looks like she's going to be absolutely beautiful. We'll definitely sail on her at some point in the future, just to experience all the different lounges, all the different food options that they've announced. She looks beautiful.
Yeah. Are you spot people at all? I was pretty excited. We've only done the rainforest room once on the Fantasy, and that area on the Wish looks amazing with the outdoor spots and everything else. We've done the rainforest room a couple of times. I had a massage this time on the Magic. We do try and do something in that area. So yeah, that looks fantastic. Well, I'm excited for her, and I would love to see them take one of the bigger ships over to England sometime. Do you think they'd fill?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it would be really nice to have the Dream or the Fantasy across, just for the extra spaces, the extra options. The Magic and the Wonder, I love. But I do love those ships. But just for the extra offerings, and it will give everyone a little bit of a taste of what to expect. So I think if they could, they absolutely should. Yeah,
I think they could fill them up easily with all the majority of the sailings that they have over there. Maybe there's some one-offs there once people go back to school, the kids go back to school. That last one that goes around England tends to be maybe a little bit light on the bookings, but I think it would be a nice nod for you guys over there that haven't come to the States and sailed with Disney Cruise Line just to get on a different ship as well. So
absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So, okay. Well, before we get out of here, any tips that you can offer people, whether they're sailing on the Wonder, on the Disney Dream, on the Disney Magic, or any other tips for first-time sailors with Disney Cruise Line, Claire?
Yeah, don't get too hung up if you don't get to book any of the things that you can pre-book, any of the tastings, any of the boutique appointments if you need for the younger guys. They released a lot more slots once we were on board for people to take part in, and they put on more than enough stuff. You will not struggle to fill your days with the amount of activities that are on there. And just sitting and spending the time on deck somewhere and soaking it all in, it soothes the soul. So you will have an absolute blast. Do a Disney cruise if you're in two minds about doing it.
I love it. All great tips there. Well, thank you so much, Claire, for reaching out and offering to do the show, kind of experiencing or sharing your experiences on the Disney Magic with our guests and our listeners as well. And I want to wish you just all the best as the summer kind of ends. And I guess you get back to like the rest of the school year here soon, huh?
Yeah, so we've got a trip up to Scotland planned for next week. And then pretty much once we return, school starts back up and it's back to reality.
Are you just going to go try and see Loch Ness?
We're heading up to the Isle of Skye. So if we have chance on the way back down, we might be able to divert across. But yeah, we're heading up. It's about 8 or 9 hours drive from where we are. So it'll be a bit of a trek. But we are going to try and see the viaduct with the Harry Potter train. That's en route to where we are going to be getting on the ferry. So we're going to try and do that. That should be pretty cool.
Have you done the Harry Potter, the tour in London where you can go see where they filmed all the movies and everything?
No, but lots of friends have. We should do it. But when you try to book, it is booked up like 3 months, 4 months in advance. So you have to be really specific of when you would be free. But it is a fantastic experience. If anyone's thinking about doing that, they should.
We were supposed to stop in London on the way out to our Greek cruise last summer. And of course, that all got canceled. And we were trying to get into and see that. And like you said, I think we were waited too long to try and book it because it was all booked up by the time we got online.
Yeah, it seems just to book up. I remember trying to look last year when they said, things were reopening for something to do instead of just being at the house. And there was no chance. It was full till Christmas. So unless you fall lucky and someone sort of cancels last minute and you're on there at the exact minute, then yeah, you do have to plan far ahead.
Well, once again, Claire, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experiences. Have a wonderful trip up to Scotland. I hope you enjoy it, and have a wonderful cruise out to Hawaii. We'd love to have you come back on to talk about that one too when you get back from it. And I know it's a little bit ways out, but it's amazing how fast those vacations come up quickly.
Absolutely. I'll be tagging a Disneyland trip on to before we fly over to Hawaii, so we can get a bit of Disney in there as well.
Oh, perfect. Are you going to stop by Aulani at all by any chance, or no? Probably don't have the time. No.
We looked at that, but because we've not done Disneyland, it'll be 2017 since we're last in California. We're just going to do the theme park, a few theme park days before we fly across to Honolulu.
Well, cruising around on the Pride of America, you get a good taste of Hawaii and plenty of Hawaii with that cruise. So I think a couple of days at Disneyland sounds perfect. So, well, as we get out of here, once again, thanks so much, Claire. All the best to you and your family. Come back and talk some Disney Cruise Line with us soon, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Claire for coming on and sharing her and her family's experiences as they sailed on the beautiful Disney Magic out of Liverpool this summer on a Disney Magic at Sea staycation. And we will see what happens next year. There's a good possibility. These have been very popular cruises over there in Europe, so I would not be surprised if Disney Cruise Line maybe took a week or so to maybe fill some of these staycation type cruises in there, because it really helps build their brand, and hopefully it entices them to book a longer cruise in the future. Well, if you've been enjoying these shows, we sure would appreciate it if you know somebody else who would enjoy it, if you pass it on to them. Also, if you have time to go over to iTunes and leave us a review, that helps our show get a little bit better known in the cruising and Disney Disney community in general. Well, if you are sailing sometime soon on either the Disney Magic, the Disney Dream, or the Disney Fantasy sailings, which are coming up, and would like to come on and share your experiences, you can reach out to me, Steve, at DCLpodcast.com, and we'll get you on the show and talk about all the experiences and fun that you've had on board the ships. As always, we'd like to thank our Patreon supporters. They help bring the show to you each and every week. You can go over to patreon.com/DCLpodcast and find out more information there. Also, if you're looking to work with a travel agent, Christy is a fee-free travel agent. You will pay the same prices with her as you would if you booked directly through Disney. If you're looking for a travel agent to work with, reach out to Christy at packyourpixiedust.com and follow her on social media everywhere you can find her under Pack Your Pixie Dust.
Well, between now and our next show, if you and your family are heading out on hopefully a vacation, if you're heading out on a cruise, or just, still doing that staycation before school starts, on behalf of myself, Steve, Christy, and Chris, all of us here at the DCL Podcast, we'd like to wish you be well out there, take care of each other, enjoy the time you have with each other, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.